Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 887, recording today on the 1st of April. Those of you who are anticipating some kind of elaborate gag from me can rest easy. I'm not going to be doing that, I promise, but we might talk about some, because there are some still out in the world, even in our little niche of electronic music and music production. See what I did there? Because that's what this podcast is about. All to do with that sort of stuff, production, drum machines, software, synthesizers, performing, streaming, all kinds of stuff. And we welcome our visitors and our people in the IRC. We've got Get Jervis, nice to see you. Maybe be doing a show later on today. They often do. Vampire Lovecraft, that's an interesting one. Jack, Neighbour Jack, Redwalks, Tanith, Wagyu, I think is there somewhere, who does deal with the excellent moderating and keeping the riff-raff out. Timdale Music, hi Tanith, Chris 4629, Escape Limitations, Zen Artist, Peter Coit. Seems like we've got a bit of a fulsome chat room. I don't use the word fulsome that often anymore. I know it's one of my buzzwords, but I'm going to, and I have. So today we've got a new guest who we'll introduce shortly. But before I do, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about what's coming up. Obviously on Sonicstate, if you haven't seen, we've obviously done the NPC video, which came out, seems to be proving very popular. Everybody seems to be going crazy for it and saying, you know what, I think I might get one. So I think they've already sold out. There's also 5 minutes with IntelliGel Cascadia from Chris at Boo Electric. Magnolia previews on Patreon. I've got the Magnolia. This is the Fractals Magnolia. I've got it in for review. Nearly finished that. I've got Paulie's had a look at the Michigan Synthworks 820, and I think we've got a new Retrocast episode coming soon, and the Udo Domino should be arriving sometime in the building here. So I'm sort of big synthed out this month. I'm going to have loads of them to play with, so at least 2, and that's plenty, to be honest, because it takes a while, honest. Before we get on to our guest, though, oh yes, actually I forgot, you can win a Polyend Endless. I think if I press that button, it will probably throw it. Yeah, there you go. If you just go to sonicstate.com/competition, there's probably a couple of days left to enter to win that. And you can get your very own, I guess, machine/AI learning effects pedal, which doesn't, for those of you who are not into AI, doesn't sound all that attractive, but it is. It's actually really quite good fun to do. So do check that out. Anyway, before we get going, I'm just going to plug our Patreon. And I know I thought last week I must remember to re-edit the music bed, and I'm afraid I haven't. So you'll have to put up with my terrible edits. I am very, very sorry. Anyway, back after this. Support us on Patreon and keep us doing what we do. There's exclusive content like gear previews and hidden gems from our extensive archives. We're now posting early access to some of our videos, as well as many with ad-free versions too. Enjoy the Sonic Talk, pre-show chats, and there's a growing library of sample instruments made with the free Decent Sampler with a redesigned interface for Venus Theory. You'll also get access to our Discord server and a private monthly hangout with the team. Head over to patreon.com/Sonicstate to see the latest offers and explore our ever-expanding collection of Patreon-only content, and help keep what we do independent. And for those who'd rather support us on YouTube, we've added a new 16-bit tier which gives you early access to some videos and all of our Decent Sampler instruments. So just head over to YouTube and check out the membership offers there. Yes, indeed. So let's get on to our guests. I'll start with Paulee. Paulee Bowes there in Birmingham in their cave of digital antiquity, where they are dealing with all kinds of romplers, granular synths, a bit of modular, some Amiga stuff. How are you, Paulee? You well?
Yeah, not bad. I'm quite excited that it's episode 887 today.
Because what's the key number?
Yeah, the key number is the 87, so in 87. And I thought I'd quickly show today a patch from a really weird synth from 1987, if that's okay. I've got it rigged up.
Okay.
And what it is it's called the... Let's see if it'll switch on. Press my RAM card. It's called the Casio HT6000. Which is Casio attempted to do a 4 DCO synth with ring mod and analog filters in 1987. So you might be able to hear this patch. It's really nice.
Sadly not. That's always the way it goes, Paulie. You've got
a vocal thing.
We can't hear it. I'm afraid it's not coming through. Yeah, it needs to be. Maybe you can adjust yourself, and we can come back to it. That we'll leave it as a cliffhanger there, perhaps. Oh, there it is.
Hey.
Oh yeah, that's very familiar, that tone, isn't it?
So there we go. That's a very
Lovely.
1987 sound for you.
Nice one. Thank you very much. That's what we call bespoke sound design for a very specific requirement. Nice one, Paulie. That's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. I did give you a brief snippet of all the three of us there, so I should probably introduce our next guest, who is a new guest to us. Moray, aka Cephid. That's how they the name they perform under. Moray is I guess, how would you describe yourself? I mean, I can have a go, but you probably know better than I do. I was going for musician, composer, and what was the other thing? There was something else in there. Performer.
Performer. Yeah, I think that kind of covers all my bases. As Nick has said, I perform and produce music under the name Cephid, but I've also been a musician, sort of as a session musician for all sorts of bands over the years. So I guess that covers musician. And as a composer, I've spent most of the last few months writing music for a couple of plays. So I guess that ticks off composer too. So yeah, I think that covers it pretty well. I don't have a bespoke patch for this edition of the show, though. I feel like I've sort of come unprepared to a party.
Well, it's all right. Neither do I, to be honest. To be fair, I haven't either. So I mean, it's absolutely fine. So it was great. We first met Moray through Facebook. My partner spotted and said, "Have you ever heard of this guy? Look, he's got this laser harp thingy." Because you famously perform sometimes with a sort of JMJ inspired laser harp, which I think anybody who's into synths will obviously identify with immediately. You did a gig quite recently. Did you bring the harp out? How did it go?
Yeah, it went really well, thanks. So it was a gig in a church, which I always like doing gigs that aren't in sort of your traditional gig venues. So yeah, bringing this big laser harp into this beautiful old church and lighting it up with, filling it with smoke first, don't tell the vicar, but then filling it with lasers and lots of glorious electronic music. So it was me as Cephid with the laser harp, and then a chap called Richard Anthony Bean, who is another great musician if you're into your kind of Jar and Vangelis-y type things. And because both of us are, we did a little encore with me on the harp doing some Jar and things like that. It was a great show, really great show, and hope to do it again.
Nice one. Oh, well, that sounds great. Well, it sounds like you've confirmed your qualifications, your credentials for being on this show. I think that kind of automatically makes you applicable. Let's get on to some topics, because I mean there are it's funny this time of year. It is a bit quiet, because I think everybody's holding back for maybe Superbooth, which, as we know, is coming up in May. In fact, I booked our flights today, so I'm feeling quite excited. Booked the flights, got the hotel sorted. Flights are tremendously expensive this time. I think we all know why that is, but that's just the way that things go. There's not much we can do about that. We just have to work with what we got, but we're looking forward to it. So at least I'm hoping we can get there and everything will be great. And it looks like lots of people are going to be joining us. So there's going to be a ton of stuff there. But as I say, people tend to sort of hold back a little bit on news. But I got a couple of things. Let's see what we'll go for first. Oh yeah, I thought this was actually an April Fool's until I realised that it came in before April Fool's. I'll just play a bit of video.
Hello everyone, Rob Owens here, founder and CEO here at Bumpbox. When we founded Bumpbox, it was all about iconic sound and unmistakable style. The BB777 is our tribute to the iconic boombox legends of the past. The Bumpbox BB777 is inspired by the Sharp GF777 as you see here. This was the...
So, for those of you, perhaps, because I mean, I guess there's a very specific cultural reference. I mean, sort of back in the day in sort of New York and Detroit and the places where like hip hop and early sort of urban street music came, this was the boombox that you'd see, dudes with them kind of on their shoulders walking around, and it would be the absolute don. It was it was the Sharp GF 909/777, had twin cassette decks, radio. I think that's it. They've basically, and what they've done is Bumpbox have decided to reboot it with a modern machine that can do everything. So it does CDs, tapes, radio, USB, Bluetooth connectivity. You can connect them together, so you can have like more than one in a sound system, and it's rechargeable lithium-ion battery as well. So I think it lasts several hours, but before you think, oh yeah, that's super niche. So they run it on Kickstarter. It runs out in, I think, May the 21st. They have raised £2.7 million to nearly 5,000 people, which makes me think, I think that's the highest Kickstarter I've ever seen. I mean, we have seen a couple of other ones. I think Chompy got to 1 million, but that is absolutely, I mean, obviously this has got a bit of a broader appeal, but this is absolutely bonkers. I mean, I used to have a Sharp one, but it was my mum. I gave it to my mum, and my mum bought it, and it had 2 cassette decks. And I said for her to buy it because I could do sound on sound between them. You can dub from one to the other while an input. At least that's what I thought it did. I don't think it actually did in the end. That's my only experience. I never really had a boombox, but these things they're very culturally important, I think. And I don't know. It's about $1,000. I don't know what you think about that, Paulie. Is that something that, I mean, it's the sort of thing, I think I could see it on your shelf. Imagine checking mixes on it. You could sort of warrant it, couldn't you, I suppose?
I could also, carry it around and get one really beefed up arm, on one side.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was I going to say? I had a great time delving into the specs of this thing, because I was initially a little bit I've watched channels, with hi-fi enthusiasts like Tech Moan and things like that, who have said that for some time there aren't any good tape transports being made anymore, apparently.
Ah, that's a fair point, yeah.
So for instance, if you get one of those cheap tape boomboxes from Aldi, you're going to get a tape transport, which I think it's a clone of something by Tanishin. It's a lower kind of it's a lower quality thing with wow and flutter and things like that.
It's not going to be a Nakamichi, yeah.
Yeah. Is this going to be any good? But apparently, I can't remember where I read it, they've used a modified Sony mechanism for the tape transport in this. And it's going to have to be decent because it offers high-speed dubbing, and you need, decent stability to do high-speed dubbing. But yeah, so I'm gonna watch with interest. The one thing I'd like to say is, you always know a good quality cassette deck, Nick, by how slow the door opens.
That's what we used to do. Used to go into shops and just kind of like, oh, look, this one's good.
Yeah, you press eject and it goes, and you're like, that's got to be a good one.
The spring, what's the spring like? It's funny, you mentioned about having one sort of overdeveloped arm. I always joke about this whenever I used to go on holiday to Cornwall, where there's always in some remote position, or one poor girl who's the ice cream person, and they're not doing soft scoop, and they end up having to use one arm. They look like female tennis players. They've just got one massively developed arm and the other one less so, because that's the same sort of thing. It's fun
because
stuff.
The other one's the flake arm, right? And flakes are very
it must
easy
be that. The other one takes the money, which is just generally a piece of plastic. Yeah, Moray. I don't know. I mean, checking mixes on something like this, I mean, that's actually quite a valid thing. I wonder whether spending £1,000 on it, and then you could master to it if the cassette decks are okay, or you could make your own cassettes. I mean, there's, I'm trying to get a justification for supporting the Kickstarter, right?
Oh no, I totally get that. Yeah, I don't know if I could justify £1,000 just for checking mixes, But
Yeah,
like Paulie, I was looking at the specs of it, and it's actually quite clever. There's a lot going on in it. Because it's got the cassette decks, and it does the radio. It's got line-ins and things, and you can connect them together, and Bluetooth and things. And I think that's a sort of really interesting. It's the sort of thing I could see somebody turning up to an EMOM with, and sort of putting it on the table, and then sort of doing some really cool mixing. Yeah, but sort of you could put in like loop cassettes and mix from one to the other. You've got an aux in as well. So actually, they've thought about it, and they've put a lot into it. But I mean, it's as a boombox, it does look fantastic, and it's the sort of thing you just kind of want to have on a shelf because it looks so good. And I just hope that sort of it's got big clunky switches on it, and yeah, obviously doing the cassette deck test. I do remember my dad getting his first decent cassette deck when I was probably about 10, and I was playing with it, and this is rubbish. If I press the eject button, it takes ages. I want to just put my cassette in and listen to it, and I've got to wait for the thing to do that. But yeah, it's a really cool thing. And I mean, I think like you, Paulie, I do like retro tech, and I like or tech that has a sort of retro attitude to it, and it gives people, or it lets people sort of relate to the technology and how they're listening to music and things in a different way. So from that point of view, I love it. I think it's great.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, thinking about that is like, just by utilising cassettes and CDs, there are things that are vehicles for some form of physical context to the music, which I think, we've missed for so many years, and bringing that back in maybe will gradually kind of value the music a little bit more than we ever did. I wonder, I guess with something like this, I mean, there's going to be a lot of electronics in it, but there will be some sort of firmware as well, I'd imagine. And maybe there are things it can do or could do. Because if they release one that you could do tape to tape and almost do multi-tracking and dubbing, high-speed dubbing is useful if you want to copy cassettes, obviously. Yeah. A very speed, I don't know. I mean, it depends on how, because I mean, a lot of that's electronics, but if there's stuff they can do in firmware, I wonder if it's got, because boomboxes after a while, they had that bass boost button, didn't they, which made them sound bigger than they were, but they were always pretty rubbish. Or they threw the stereo out of phase, so it went a bit wider, but you couldn't hear anything in the middle, that sort of stuff. So I wonder if they'll be doing, but 4.3 what did I say it was? It was 2.8 million. Or was it 2.8 million? What did I say? It was almost at £3 million. So it was at 2.8 million with 4.8k supporters. I mean, that is pretty serious support. They've obviously struck a chord or a nerve there with this whole retro thing, and people, you could imagine there's an entire strata of people. I mean, because you would, it's the sort of thing, even if you're a street performer, because I was recently away, and there were quite a lot of people sort of doing dances and performing and singing along with stuff, and something like that at the core of would make it look a bit better than your average, just, what do they normally have? They use AER speakers or the Roland Cubes or something, just something a bit out of the ordinary at your feet. Yeah, I like it. I think it's it should be well encouraged. YouTube, there's a few comments coming in. Would it be okay to carry a boombox on your shoulder when playing SOAD? I don't know what SOAD is. It must be some kind of a musical genre. I'll have to come back to that. System of a Down. Okay, thank you. I'm so glad we got one of the kids with us.
I mean, I am 43, but yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, but that's considerably younger than I am, so you get to play that role, and Stefan maybe even younger than that. So I feel completely.
I was a 90s, noughties kid, so yes, I know what SOAD is. Yeah.
Okay, System of a Down, right?
We'll tell you about it later, Dad.
I wonder if they've actually kind of improved or changed the speaker technology, because I mean, obviously, with digital amps and whatnot, you can put DSP in there and do all sorts of things to kind of make the sound better. Because I mean, nowadays we've got tiny little speakers that sound absolutely massive. So it'd be interesting to see whether they add some of that stuff to it. But fair play to them.
Doing tests, they might have even tested the chassis to see what its natural resonances are, and what works well in it and stuff like that. You know, a level of scientific approach that maybe companies didn't do back.
Well, they'd have to. Presumably, when you're making something like that, you have to test for things that rattle. You know, when the bass kicks in, you don't want the cassette door to be rattling. I wonder if that's why they introduced the slow, because it's sort of damped. Oh, there's so many questions about this sort of thing.
Yeah, when I was I think 17, my best friend had a mini Metro, really, really old, cheap second-hand car, and he put such a big bassy stereo system in that car that it made the windows rattle like properly, as if the car was going to fall apart. So I know that feeling of bass making something rattle.
There's that thing, isn't there, where... Sorry, go, Sheffield.
No, I used to put bits of blue tack and wedge bits of cardboard into all the panels of my car to stop them shaking when I had the music turned up. But yes, exactly that.
That's amazing.
There's a whole thing, though, isn't there, whereby you put such a massive sound system in a car. I'm sure you can find videos on YouTube, and the bass bins are so huge that when you're inside, it sort of blows all your hair around. There's all sorts of pictures of sort of teenage girls sitting in cars with their hair being blown back by the subs. I mean, it sounds extremely dangerous and probably very bad for you, but it's a thing. It's the same thing as those cars that bounce up and down as well. It's sort of like a real... So, you know, you just put the most ridiculous sound system inside your car and subject people to sort of probably hemorrhage-inducing bass, which is probably not such a good idea. I might put that down as a potential sort of topic title there.
But it's sort of part of the culture of it, and you end up with music that's sort of designed around this culture of, I don't know, if it's to be played in cars with massive subwoofers or played to sound good on a boombox, that kind of thing.
Yes.
I think that a music that's sort of written for two sides of vinyl, sort of you're timing your album to fit on that. And yeah, it all comes back to it's clearly a cultural icon because the amount of money it's raised on Kickstarter. And people
absolutely, but you're absolutely right about that, because I mean, essentially, that sort of the FM sound was designed to sound good in cars. You know, certainly with when FM came into the States, and people were listening to stuff in their cars. Car sound systems had developed more bass and had more, you know, because of the rumble noise and I guess all the damping and things. So for many people, you know, the best place you could check your mix before you could maybe afford some decent stuff in the studio would be in your car, because that's where you would hear more extended bass than perhaps, because they utilize, you know, bass trapping and resonances so that the bass would be hyper extended because they'd use the boot to resonate or whatever. And so it's a very valid point. And I think boomboxes were part of that that change into what we hear, because previous to that we were probably listening to things on probably like tinny transistor radios, you know, more than anything else. So the boombox that became, and now of course we've got party speakers, which I think is yet another thing. Those massive speakers that have often got lights in them that, you know, that you see in Currys and electrical outlets that you're not sure who buys, because I've never seen them anywhere, but they are a thing. And I just haven't seen them in many places. But interesting topic. I'll probably take a quick break, and we'll be back after this little interlude. This episode is sponsored by Baby Audio, makers of creative instruments and effects plugins. From classic analog synth tones with the vintage-inspired BA1 to fresh concepts like Transit 2, Baby Audio's catalogue is all about adding unique character to Grainferno, their latest granular synth plugin, is available now, priced at just $79 intro price. On top of that, Sonic Talk listeners can take an additional 15% off any purchase using the code SonicTalk15. That's Sonic Talk 15 to get 15% off any order, including products already on sale. Visit Baby Audio to save with your exclusive discount or download free trials for all products. Indeed. Katie Kilobyte in the YouTube says, funny that Sonictalk is on April Fools. It could be a show full of fake news. Well, I mean, yes, I suppose it could. I mean, and I'm sure some current affairs programs are from time to time, but we'll drop that subject and leave it there. Okay, what's next? I mean, this kind of follows on a little bit to this kind of whole notion of retro. I mean, obviously, we're seeing as hardware is harder to ship and manufacture and all those things, we're seeing kind of, well, check this out. This is Electro-Harmonix. I'm sure we might get busted for this because this is obviously a classic Nirvana riff.
Electro-Harmonix now has plugins. We've teamed up with Mixwave and meticulously replicated 6 iconic vintage Electro-Harmonix pedals that are now available as plugins. The Small Clone, the Electric Mistress, the Deluxe Memory Man, and 3 big muffs with the Classic, the Ram's Head, and the Black Russian. We chose these 6 classics as key representatives of the sounds that really helped shape Electro-Harmonix into what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing. I mean, it must be. So, I mean, that's probably quite a good move. These things are going to be $39 each, or all 4 for $109. And I think we're going to see more of this sort of thing as we, as we've all got computers powerful enough to run probably, several or many of these things. And it's always very interesting because I know we've got 2 people on the panel today. Obviously Paulee likes the physicality of stuff and has some of that vintage things, not necessarily Electro-Harmonix, whereas Moray, you have practicalities. If you're gigging or you're doing stuff to picture or whatever, you need repeatability and that sort of thing. So, but I'm sure you enjoy hardware. So I wondered how you feel about this sort of generally. It'd be great to use that sort of thing, but would you prefer to have the hardware, or is that impractical?
Well, I mean, as you might have guessed from the Jean-Michel Jarre poster behind me, I'm a bit of a fan of at least one of these pedals. There we go. But actually, this is a really good example. You can see how well used it's been. But also, I haven't used it for years because it's got a 3.5 power comes in on a 3.5mm jack, and I've lost the adapter, and I could probably make one or find one somewhere, but I can't
probably just replace it.
Yeah. But also, I love the sound of the thing, and I like to work really fast. So I've got all sort of effects chains and things set up, and I can just click and bring up whatever I want in the door. But yeah, there's nothing quite like the hardware. But I want the hardware just with the ease of use. This is perfect. I mean, I can see myself as soon as this is over going and buying all of these, and spending the evening in a big sort of swirly spaced out, plug them all together, and have a great time. Now, I love anything that sort of messes up with sound in interesting ways. I love putting synths through guitar pedals, usually then sampling them so I can actually use them again without having to tear my hair out and find all the patch cables and get everything lined up correctly. But yeah, this looks great. This looks really good fun. The pedals are still really popular with good reason. So yeah, I'm all over this.
Yeah, I wonder I wonder how much profitability there is in terms of a company like Electro-Harmonix having to cut, because I guess it's a license and they probably get a slice of each one, and I wonder how much. I mean, software is notoriously difficult to actually make a return on as well, particularly with piracy, so I'm wondering how that will work. But it was interesting you mentioned there, because I mean there is a dilemma, isn't there? Because in the studio you want maybe convenience and speed, whereas if you were on stage you might want the hardware. There may be a point, though, with which we have the ability to run all these live inputs into a box that is part of our audio interface, so we can just do all of this thing live with such little latency and have some form of physical. It's finding the right physical hardware interface to work with all of this stuff. I don't know, Paulie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd be interested to try them out and see if the parameter ranges are the same as the originals, or potentially these plugins could go even further than the originals, because things like the Memory Man and the Memory Boy are obviously based on BBD chips, which have a finite maximum delay time before they kind of go into, noise and degradation and things like that. So I wonder if these would actually do longer delays than the original.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I'm going to kind of read up and see exactly what the parameter ranges are. And you never know. Some people, when they model stuff, they do like an original mode and then a sort of extreme mode, don't they? So
a flip, yeah. That would make sense.
That kind of thing interests me.
Sorry, there is a bit of a delay, so I do apologise for it. It takes a little bit of getting used to, Moray. But yeah, I'm sorry. What were you going to say there, Moray?
Well, it's like every 303 clone you buy has the switch to go from the stock 303 to the Devilfish version. So I'd love to see something like that. So you can get the same crunchy delays, but spread out over seconds, minutes. Yeah, that would be wonderful. That's the best of both worlds, and what we should be doing with software. Absolutely.
That does give me the opportunity to mention one April Fool's that I saw today, which was from who was it? It was from. Let me see if I can find it. It was. I've got it here. Earthquaker Devices, and it's called the Long-Term Memory Madam, and they've got a video. I was going to download the video until I realised it was 12 hours long, and that gave me the. And then the light bulb went off, and I realised it was an April Fool. So there's a guy there, and he says, "I just want to give you," and he hits a chord, and then they've just got a load of shots that they keep editing together to make a 12-hour video, and then right at the end. A chord just comes back, and that's it, and that's the end of the video. That's a great one. Although it must have taken them an awfully long time to upload it. But yeah, I thought that was a great, because I was looking at it, I was going, hold on a minute, this is like 5 gig download. How's that possible? And I realised it was 12 hours long. It's just nice touch, because there's nothing. It's just sort of like a shot, and the guy's going and looking at his watch. And just looking round and moving his guitar a bit and just sort of fiddling with some knobs. And then they obviously shot a load of them, and they got a couple of panning shots, and they just stitched them all together. Yeah. So it just goes on. And in the background, they've just got the noise of the guitar humming plugged into an amp just the whole time. It's absolutely brilliant. Really classic. I encourage people to check that out, although you can fast forward to the end just to see what the chord sounds like. It is quite disappointing, but nonetheless, nice work, nicely done. So yeah, these are, I guess, are available soon, and I guess if they're made with in cooperation, then Electro-Harmonix should presumably have the sign-off. They say, they're talking to the plugin maker Mixwaves, and they would have the sign-off and make sure that those parameters do work in the right way, because frankly, they should know. So that's the point of that sort of thing, I suppose. And they've chosen to make it affordable, because they could. I think the mistake a lot of people make is our brand associated to this adds more value than perhaps the user wants to pay, and it's probably a bit of a tricky one. Anyway, I just thought that was fun. Okay, let's have a look. Maybe let's have a look at this one. This is a kind of a good one. I thought this was cool. Let me just find it here. It's hold on, what's it called? Should be there. Right. It's that one. Okay, this is James Wiltshire from F9 Audio.
Hey guys, if you've ever struggled with bass, then you're certainly not alone. I have for years. I think we've just made something quite remarkable. Come and have a look at this. I had this track going.
And I frankly can't hear anything wrong with it, but he's the expert.
Got problems right at the bottom. There's a little bit of bloom, there's a few resonant points in there. Later on, this builds with the riff on top.
Banging.
Now,
I'll see if I can fast forward it.
So what I'm going to do is select about 16 buttons, hit the analyze button.
He has created a tool that you put online, and it gives you low frequency analysis across all.
And here you can clearly see the kick drum
across a load of things. And so you can then effectively just
this is why it's vital that you have your main drop
run it against a track that you maybe want to analyze, and then towards the end it sort of makes some suggestions, which is maybe you should try lose
20 hertz with 18 dB
5 dB at this point with a high Q. I just thought it was a really interesting guy, because it's free, and he's very clear about the fact, we're not using this to train any LLMs or anything. It's just a free online tool. Where do you find it? I'm trying to remember where it is. It's it should be in the show notes. It should be in the link for the story. I've always struggled with low end at that side, but I guess I'm not making or never really have made tunes in recent years for the sort of club systems that now exist, where that sort of precision is so important. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how people deal with their low end. I mean, your mixes always sound pretty good, Moray, and as do Paulee's. I mean, what do you have a technique? Do you use analysis? Do you use that sort of the visual side of it? Because sometimes people say visually using software to visualize mixing is sort of, it can make you disconnected it and sort of gamify it, and you don't get necessarily the same results. So I'm just a thought.
Yeah. I tend to use my ears as much as possible. I will sort of reach for the spectrograms and everything if I'm hearing something sort of really horrible. But also I do know when I'm out of my depth and when I need to get a professional in who has a properly treated room and the proper knowledge to really get surgical with it. I'm not that kind of really surgical mixer. I really like to work on instinct, work on things like arrangements, so that when you come to mixing, it's actually quite a straightforward process of just balancing all the different elements together. Right. But I don't tend to write for, like you say, the big club systems, but I do find my YouTube feed is full of people who do, and it's sort of fascinating peering into the world of sort of really, really super scientific, super precise EQ and compression and things that people are doing, so that when it does hit these big sort of sound systems that you can feel, how you achieve that bass, how you achieve that physical sensation without completely destroying eardrums. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Definitely. I know, Paulee, your mix is also saying that yours are very tight and wide and deep and everything, and you often have a lot more going on than I would in mine, or at least know how to balance them better. So I've never really got mixes. I find mixing very difficult, and I'm much more the same with instinctive. But the thing is that what you were saying, Sifid, is getting somebody else to mix it. I never get the same feeling from that mix. I always feel slightly disappointed that there's something that made me excited about that mix is gone, and I wouldn't know what it was. It probably was the fact that it's crap, and you have to turn it up to hear everything. Maybe that's what I'm.
No, that I think there is a certain truth to that. I mean, fortunately, when I did my last album, I got that mixed by my good friend Shelby, who's a fantastic mix engineer. And I spoke to her specifically because I knew she'd get what I wanted to do. But then also I've done my own mixes, and I mean, I've been disappointed by my own mixes. I've been disappointed by other people's mixes. I will continue to be disappointed by mixes until I sort of up my game and get a decent enough studio to be able to sort of really get it right. But I think, yeah, if you're working with somebody who's on the same page as you, then that makes an awful lot of sense. I know, Paulie, do you use these kind of tools to you do? Oh, okay, right.
I've used, since about 2003, I've used Wave's Max Bass.
Yeah, but does that help you with clarity, I suppose? Or does it just synthesize more?
Really, well, essentially, for my low end, I'll use Max Bass. Usually either on the whole mix if it's something that needs to be down there, or just on the bass line, and it's always just worked for me, which is why I haven't ever really strayed from it. And then with the top end, I use Air Windows Energy, which is completely free, and it gives you some really cool little sliders, which include things like glitter, hiss, fuzz, rat, and you get a feel for what the slider's going to do before you even touch it. And so I always put a bit of max bass on my low end and a bit of energy, definitely the glitter slider on my high end, and then usually by the time it gets to mastering stage, I don't really have any problems. At the mastering stage, I might... I've gotten to the point where I know my mixes will translate well, so that I don't put stems into my mastering rig anymore. Maybe I'll put the all of the music and maybe the drums separately, because sometimes when I run things through my mastering rig, the drums end up at a different level than I thought they'd be. So other than that, yeah, I'm really happy with what I've managed to do. And as I keep saying, no one has stopped me in the street and said your mixes are terrible and shook me violently. So until that happens, I'm going to just continue going on the way I'm going. Basically.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, I suppose obviously James Wilshire is a part of the Freemasons and has been making sort of stuff that's designed more for kind of clubs. So it's very much kicks on the floor and low bass, and getting those things just right in that environment is probably more important than it is for stuff that's not designed for that as the destination sound system, I guess. But yeah, James, I posted the thing in the f9-master-match.pages.dev. I posted it in the chat room, so it should show up in the chat alongside this. But yeah, it's worth checking out, and it's free. And he's a great guy. He does loads of really good sample kits, samples, and they do some really good videos about how he's struggling with kind of getting the mixes right, what he's learned to do about it, all that sort of stuff. Just a really good overall goodness. Right, let's have a look. I can't remember when I did the last ad. I wonder if it's time for another one. It doesn't feel like it yet. Maybe I should got time for another quick. Let's do this one. This is a perennial. I always put these sort of things in when there's less topics, but there are often great topics. This was just from I think it will play. I think it was on Gear News, which doesn't seem to want to load. Sometimes it doesn't. Oh, maybe it doesn't anyway, but I'm not sure whether that'll work. But yeah, Gear News, or favourite, no, it wasn't. It was a favourite polysynth, one of our questions of the week, which was a favourite polysynth, which we did. We do a question of the week on YouTube and Discord and all these places. And some obvious and not so obvious answers. Electrospace says Roland System 8, accurate imitation of the Jupiter. Korg Multi-Poly, top shout. That I think that is I've got that in software, and I think that is one of the best sounding software synthesizers, most versatile. It sounds great. That's a good shout. JP880 says at G3CD, because it does all the sounds I danced to in my 20s. Fair point. Simon Bird Music, Artoria Mini Freak, which is again another extensible DSP synthesizer. So there's some good choices there, and I thought we'd ask you, Moray, have you got any favourite polysynths? They could be software or hardware. It's entirely up to you, but take your pick.
I mean, as software goes, I think it's hard to beat Pigments. I use that on literally everything. But in terms of the hardware, I mean, anyone who's seen me in the chat here or on the Discord knows I'm a big Hydrasynth fan. He says, looking lovingly across the studio towards it. That thing it's great. It's really versatile, but it's got a sort of a sonic character of its own that I really like. And I think any synth that comes into my studio has got to sort of earn its place, it's got to have something that nothing else does, or it's got to have a sound that nothing else has. So that's up there. Big fan of the JP, the JP8080. JP8000 was my first sort of real synth. So big fan of that one. I think it's when you've got your first synth, you really get stuck into it, and it's the only thing you have. So you get stuck into it and you learn every single thing it can do. So that's got a special place in my heart. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think, I think the Hydrasynth is very popular amongst a lot of people, and I think it's still. I mean, it's hard. I guess Leviasynth is there now, but that sort of feels different. That feels like I've said before. It's an amazing thing, but it feels like you've got to put a lot more effort into it to get results. It's not a quick synth to program, and some people find that a put off, I would imagine. But horses for courses. What do you think, Paulie? What's have you got a favourite? Oh, I'm sure you have a selection. You must do.
Sure. I when it comes to I think I've got three that I want to kind of point out. One is, of course, the Roland V Synth, which is it's absolutely endless in what you can do, basically, where you can twist and shape samples and combine it with, virtual analog waveforms and some really weird stuff inherited from the JP8000, like the feedback oscillator, which is really interesting. Then, of course, there's the for vintage, there's the Microwave XT, my orange friend. Wavetables, just absolutely love it. And again, it's endless. There's all sorts of weird little filter modes and ways of doing audio rate stuff. And in terms of newer stuff, I think I'm going to go for the Polyvera, which I reviewed a little while back.
That is a lovely sounding instrument. It really is, isn't it?
Because it's got all those filter modes. It's got the Ensoniq Mirage emulation for your samples, so it makes it sound lovely and crusty. Then you can filter down the crust with the analog filters. So I absolutely love that one. Basically, I'd love more Poly.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
It's six voices, but it needs
something.
To be 12.
It's got an emotional. It's got an emotional connection, that thing. It's really peculiar. You play it and it just, think, and I think it's because it's probably not the same for everybody who maybe doesn't have a memory of things maybe they used to own or remember, but I don't know. Maybe it is, because I agree. I think it's a great set. That's a good shout as well. Yeah, nice one. Okay, going to take a quick break and we'll be back after this. Introducing the Novation Launch Control XL3, a control surface for your entire setup. Get hands-on with your entire workflow. Launch Control XL's 8 precision faders, 24 endless rotary encoders, and 16 assignable buttons give you tactile control over all major doors. Right out of the box with instant visual feedback. And with intuitive custom mapping for all your plugins and hardware, Novation Launch Control XL makes an ideal studio centerpiece. Control any setup, go deep with a single device, or get to grips with your entire production, mix down or performance. Whether you're in the box, hardware-based, or a mixture of the two, Novation's Launch Control XL is a creative controller that suits your needs. Yeah, okay, well, we got to get to April Fools. I mean, I know I didn't want to lead with it, although I have mentioned one briefly. And I just want to play, let's have a look, it's got this one. People knew this was an April Fools, right? It's a great video. That's Rodek there. And this is Ilya from Game Changer, who loves a bit of video work. He's also from Latvia and Riga, where Erica Synths are from. Redefining unnecessary. That is such a great line. So, yeah, I mean, we got sent this. They released this last night at 1 minute past 12 or 1 minute past 11. I can't remember wherever it was in the... maybe 1 minute past 11 UK, because it was CET, which is that time. And they actually put it in the store, and they've actually built this thing, right? So you click on it, you buy it, and it says Percon keys does not exist for now. Anyway, there's a 10% discount for Percon's drums only. We'll be auctioning the prototype at this year's Super Booth for charity. The unit is fully functional with the keyboard properly routed, utilising the MIDI implementation from the Percon's 1.2 update. It's a unique piece. And I just think, yeah, fair play. And that's going to extreme lengths. I mean, I remember we once did one where we shot a video that was on a pedal that was a pyro pedal. So you click on it, you press the foot pedal, and it would fire off a pyro or a bomb or something. And but again, now it's hard to believe these things. So you have to go to these extreme lengths just so that you can appreciate the actual effort that's gone into it rather than just someone coming up with an idea. I mean, I'm sure there are others out there. I mean, I just haven't seen them all, but I know. Ed, did you see this, Moray? Did you what did you think?
I did.
Get it straight away?
I was kind of. I did get it straight away, but like a few of the April Fool's jokes I've seen this year, I actually kind of thought, I kind of want that. I think that would be quite fun. I'm all about sort of fiddling with pitches of drum sounds and things. Always, whenever I'm doing anything in the Digitact or anything like that, I'm always messing with sample pitches and drum sound pitches. So I kind of want that. I'm not sure I can afford to sort of bid on the only version of it, but I do like the idea, and I do kind of wish it existed as a real thing.
Well, it does. There is one. That's the thing. I wonder how much it'll go for at auction. That'll be an interesting one. Yeah, because they're going to auction it for charity, but they made it and they went to the effort. So I'm guessing that's why all the videos were with Latvian artists, because they didn't send them out to more than one. They just went, I'll go around to Ilya's place, he'll shoot something, and then we'll go to get Rodek on a bus. I don't know. I think that could be fun. It's a good one. Like it's a good one.
They're testing the water a bit. It definitely feels like they're testing the water just to sort of see how well the joke goes down, and they can just go, oh yeah, it was just a joke for April Fools that we took a bit far. Or it might just be actually people are really interested in this, and maybe they'll do a limited run or something. Yeah,
that's a fair point. No, yeah, I know. What do you think, Paulie? It's a good one, wasn't it?
As an owner, sorry, because this one will have the owner, the keyboard version, because there's only one. As an owner of a Percons Eurorack version, it is actually incredibly fun to play with the pitches. It has a 1 volt per octave input. So, and, actually a synthesis, well, I can't remember how many synthesis engines there are. There's loads, though. Where you can, really make some melodic tones. There's wave folding and FM and stuff like that. So it doesn't actually, I know it sounds silly to have a drum machine with keys, but it's not actually as silly as...
That's how you often play it. I mean, that's how I play drum samples.
And also it kind of reminded me of other round-robin kind of 4-voice synths like the Korg Monopoly. So if there was a poly mode where you could set 4 different, sounds and then go between them, I think it would actually be really cool. So... So
what you're saying is you want it to be real and you would consider it. It looks like Red Walks in the chat room only doubted it when they heard the samples, because Percons is all analog, right? So yeah, there you go. That's quite a funny one. Yeah.
No, it does. It does play samples as well. It's got.
It does. I beg your pardon.
It's got 3 samples in it, but it's got and a completely multiple algorithm digital sound engine, but then analog filters. So. It's pretty deep, the Percons.
Nice. Anyway, I'm sure there are others. I've been looking in the chat room and I can't see that there are any... We didn't miss anything that was absolutely, in our sector. I'm sure there have been other ones. Well, I was saying before the show that... when I boot up this PC over here, it's got it throws up an Elgato kind of control panel. Download the latest version of the software, and it's one of those things that's got a little. They often plug one of their other products in the sort of window, and the product they were plugging today was one of these, but with a lever on it, so you could use it like a fruit machine or a one-arm bandit. And it said it was only available today on April the 1st. But I mean, to go to that effort where you're pushing it out to every single PC in the world that has it connected, I mean, fair play. I mean, I like the fact that people are making the effort. It's just getting, it's almost just a thing that everybody knows it's not real, but it's a nice thing that you could just smile at, I suppose. Whereas I think the point of April Fools used to be that you have to get somebody completely, didn't it? You had to do it before midday on April Fools, and then you would be an April Fool, I think was the thing is. But I have I think I have the story of the origination of April Fools, if anyone's interested. So apparently in Georgian Britain in the 1700s, New Year's Day used to be on March 31st. That was the turn of the year. That's what it used to be. And what happened is the powers that be, the king and whoever, decided that they wanted to change that. So because in Bath was a very big Georgian party city. So people used to come for the season, which would be in March to April. And March 31st was the big party night because it was the rollover of the year as it was. So there were all these people who were just going, we don't want to change that. I mean, you can imagine it would be like them, somebody doing it now. You go, why are you doing that? And so they were all considered to be sort of just ridiculously wed to this idea, and so they became known as April Fools because they were wed to the idea of April the 1st being what was New Year's Day, and they didn't want it to change. At least that's a story I was told by a guide in Bath when I did one of the walks, which was fascinating. Anyway, so there you go. That's my April Fool's story. Wow. And that isn't an April Fool's. At least I didn't hear it on April Fool's Day, but it could be. And if it was, then it could be an elaborate one. Someone's going to have to go and do a bit of research, about that. Anyway, it's been lovely to have you all. Thank you so much for coming. It's been great. Lovely to see all the folks in the chat room. It seems like you've been having the Georgian ravers, says Red Walks. Yeah. That's, yeah. But I mean, Bath was a big party city. Anyway, so Moray, what's next for you then? You've been working on music for theatrical production. Are you performing it, or is it played back, via cues?
No, so that's all just finished. So that finished last week. It's very successful. So very pleased with that. That was all done on playback. I wasn't playing it live. It's one of these things I've sort of looked into for ages, looking at sort of different ways to sort of do more dynamic music, because obviously, unlike film, you don't have a lot picture. Any night, an actor could take longer to walk across the stage to hit a mark or something. So I've been working a lot with the sound operator on this last one, working out how we sort of build in little loops and things to cover. It was an excellent play about the life of the Bronte sisters, which was very funny and how very unexpectedly topical as well, because the Bronte sisters obviously spent quite some time in Bath, I believe, in society.
Or was it the Austins?
No, it was the Austins. You're thinking of Jane Austen, unfortunately.
Oh, damn, out historied. Yes. Well, that sounds great. So was there a lot? Did you have to write a lot of cues, or was it mostly was it sound effects you dealt with as well, or?
It was actually a really sort of stripped back production, so no sound effects, but a lot of musical cues. There's a lot of the play. It's called Underdog, the other Bronte sister. I do recommend. There's a version of it at the National Theatre, which you can find online, which I do recommend. It's a great play, but there's lots of really sudden sort of the mood turns on a sixpence, and so it goes from sort of comedy to tragedy very fast. But I had a lot of fun doing that. So my next project is basically taking all the cues and doing a little soundtrack album for that. And actually, I'll be doing that for the other play I was working on, which is Dr. Faustus, which is big Elizabethan Gothic play that my wife was in, playing Mephistopheles, playing the devil. So I'll be doing a little soundtrack album of that as well. That's my immediate sort of next month, but I've got some more gigs as Cephid lined up for later in the year. So I will be putting the live rig back together, doing some more repairs on the laser harp, because when you sort of build instruments yourself, it's kind of, you spend an awful lot of time repairing things and fixing things, and lots of time spent thinking, it'll be fine. I'll just patch it together. I'll put some tape over it. It'll be fine. I won't have to worry about it. And then 6 months later, the sticky tape falls off or something. And you go, I've got to deal with this problem now. So that's going to be, that's going to be fun though. And it'll be really great to be back on stage again.
Excellent. Well, I wish you all the best, and I hope to come along to one of those gigs. I hope I can make the next one at least. Paulee, I guess you're going to Synthfest France, right?
I am.
That's exciting.
With my wife, and I've promised her lots of nice French food, nice dinners in restaurants and stuff. So I've got to keep up that end of the bargain. But in the daytime, I'm going to be on the Liquid Sky /PPG store. And also, I'm going to be doing a live performance on the Friday night. I think. Are you
how are you taking all your? Are you taking enough gear? How are you getting the gear, or are you going to borrow it there? How are you going to do that?
I think I'm just going to make something up on my MC101. It's very small, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just gonna, and it can play back samples. So I might just, do something on that and then throw it in my bag.
Nice.
But I can borrow gear, of course, there because it's a whole synthesizer convention. So I could just go around.
There might be something you can use.
Say, can I nick these synths for later or something? So but yeah, that's going to be absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to do my live performance on the Friday night. I think it's Charlotte Dubois and Heinbach on the Saturday evening. So I'm looking forward to catching those good musician fellows. And yeah, that'll be me basically. So these next couple of weeks is just me basically panicking and thinking, how do I do an international set with gear I can take on a plane?
Yes, but those are the sort of problems we live for. This is where it brings out the, to coin a phrase. I know it doesn't always apply to everybody, but it's the man in shed syndrome. It's the problem solving. Sure. It's the kind of like, how can I fix? It's what I did when I went to Spain. I thought, right, how can I take a rig that is, and it's deeply satisfying.
You can just do playback on a laptop. But that doesn't feel. But this is basically a convention full of synth nerds. They are going to be looking at my every move and what gear I'm using. No, I can't get away with it. If it was just some, casual listeners, I might be able to put a laptop on and play one or two parts. But these people are going to be like, "Where's that part coming from? I don't see the gear for that part on the stage." Right. So I've got to do it for real.
Yeah, never mind. I'm sure you can. All you need is a MIDI controller because you can play as well. So when it comes down to it, you can just stick a MIDI and play something. Yeah, exactly. So whereas you can't play much on the actual MC101 on its own, not easily anyway, not with any kind of dexterity. So yeah. Well, lovely to see you all, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that's been a good show for you, and we will see you all next time. I will now press the button to do the end of show. I think that's what I do. So see you all next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you. Bye.